Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares, and welcome back to Alternate Cuts. Now, this is where Joe the Horror Man and myself pick an alternate cut of a movie, whether it be the unrated cut, whether it be a work print version, or in this case, an assembly cut. The one we're going to be talking about today is Scream 3, the assembly cut. Now, this, of course, was passed around. From what I am to understand, this was passed around a lot as a bootleg. Of course, this is a bootleg right here. Thank you to Joe for making this cut for me. And we're going to talk a little bit about the first cut that Wes Craven turned in to Miramax. Now, one of the big differences is the runtime on Scream 3 is an hour and 54 minutes. That's credits and everything. This movie runs 2 hours, 22 minutes, and does not have any of the credits in it because the movie was not finished. So you don't have the title screen where it says Scream 3. You don't have all the credits telling you who's in the film because it wasn't finished yet. We don't know if some people were going to be on the cutting room floor. We just don't know. And it doesn't have the end credits because they weren't finished yet either. What we do have is a film that adds a lot and has a very different vibe than the original Scream 3. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm not going to get into too many specifics because a lot of it is just alternate dialogue, or there's more dialogue, or the scene has an overall different vibe. But there are definitely differences, a lot of differences, in this film and Scream 3, the way it turned out. Now, I'm going to say right now, as in not comparing them, because this wasn't a finished film, but I do prefer the Scream 3 theatrical cut to the assembly cut. But it is so cool to see what didn't make it. So let's talk a little bit about it. One of the things I wanted to talk about right now is the fact that, of course, it's longer, so it has more dialogue. It has, as I said, a different vibe. As an example, when Sydney's mother comes, you get a very different vibe of the conversation, or you're having a conversation with a ghost, but still it's a very different vibe. Also, during the parts with the cast, like Jenny McCarthy and all the rest of the cast of this film inside of a film, some of the parts are rearranged, some of the dialogue is furthered. I'm not going to get real long-winded on this, but I will say that as far as rearranging the parts, I believe that the theatrical version flows better because you don't have a whole lot of Sydney through the first part of the film. Now, granted, it takes a while for Sydney to come into Scream 3 as it is because she is in hiding. But the way they arrange the parts in this first cut, you don't see a whole lot of her or the police, for that matter, Patrick Dempsey or his partner, until, of course, most of it is the end of the film. And I think them rearranging some of the parts and putting Sydney in smaller segments in the film makes the film flow better and makes it feel like an actual Scream film with Sydney in it, if that makes any sense. One of the things I've always loved about part three is the ending. It is my absolute favorite ending of any in the franchise. Um, it just feels complete, and I like the whole thing with her leaving the door open and the gate open, stuff like that. I mean, she's like showing that there's nothing left to fear. Um, and I think that that's pretty freaking cool. Now, of course, it's the same in the assembly cut, but for some reason, the length, the arrangement of the parts, it just doesn't flow as well. So, in watching this and you're seeing extra things and you're like, well, I can understand why they cut that. I can understand why they cut that. and you're going through everything, you can see the process happening in front of you as the film goes along. Why they rearrange things, why they cut certain parts of the dialogue in certain areas of the film. But one of the biggest things in this assembly cut is the reveal of the killer. And if you've never seen Scream 3, I don't like to spoil movies, so I'm not going to tell you who it is. Those of you who have watched it a number of times already know who the killer or killers, I'll leave it there, is. Um, but there's a different way he is revealed in the assembly cut. See, I just said he, so I gave you a clue. And also, it leads more to the fact that there is two killers in Scream 3. And that has been confirmed by the people who worked on the film, the people who wrote the film, on the documentary that is actually on this set here. And most people who are diehard Scream fans knows that there are two killers in Scream 3. Um, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. So yeah, I do like the assembly cut. I thought it was really neat to watch it. It's in black and white, of course, because it's not, it's not the final cut. Some of the spots were darker, um, so it was a little harder to see things. But it's like I said, it's neat to watch the process. Even the beginning where you're dealing with Cotton on the phone. Um, there's a lot more dialogue, and there's a little bit of a difference in how things turn out. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say about it. It's really neat to watch the process. There are some audio issues that had to be worked out. So, like I said, it's a process, and getting to see that process happening, knowing what they ended up with as a final cut, makes me more appreciative of the theatrical version and what they had to go through in order to make it. So, yeah. I didn't want to be too long winded, but I really appreciate this, Joe. It's neat to watch other ways that films could have been. So, check out Joe's um, alternate cut video for Scream 3, the assembly cut. And remember, guys, physical media matters. And until next time.